Hey, everybody, this is David Schooley. I am here to talk to you guys about a phenomenal day we're going to have. We're about to go over everything that happened on the mystery of Blind Frog Ranch that you saw on Discovery last night, the premiere of episode 1 of season 2. And I'm going to right away bring on some of our commentary and co-hosts here. Here we go. I'm going to add a couple of guys here that are waiting to talk to you. We've got Carl the Crusher. If you guys aren't already following Carl, you need to be following Carl. This man is all over YouTube. He's been on all kinds of investigations. You want to check him out. I've got Carl and James Keenan. This gentleman is also an investigator. Phenomenal information coming from this man. I've seen him speaking at shows. You guys know him with his books. He's been an author. Guys, welcome to the show. How exciting is this?
Pretty good. Love it.
Really excited to be here. This is an
David?
awesome opportunity. After going up to the ranch and getting to watch episode 1 of season 2, this is going to be really fun.
Nice. Now, James, you've been to the ranch. Carl, you've been to the ranch. You guys know both, of course, Chad and Duane. You guys have been in their presence multiple times. You guys have done investigations on the ranch. And now we're getting into season 2 where people are going to start to learn some of the stuff that you guys already know. James, how crazy is this ranch?
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things going on. When you talk about phenomena, it's a lot. Sometimes it seems a little overwhelming, but it makes it exciting, especially when you're researching and investigating with Chad and with Duane there.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. Now, Carl, you've done investigations not just at the ranch, but in the Uintah Basin, even with Chad, right? That I know you did one last Halloween at some haunted hotel. How cool was that, right?
Really awesome. Yeah, I've done everything from paranormal investigating to I'm really big into researching the petroglyphs and the pictographs and different sort of ancient clues that revolve around this. And a lot of it seems to coalesce and revolve around that Uintah Basin up there. And the amount of phenomenon going on is so bizarre and strange because it goes from the ancient past all the way into anomalies in the sky, UFO sightings, paranormal incidents, animal mutilations, and potentially, buried treasure and caches of missing things and artifacts in the ground, even meteorite possible fragments and things around. And it's like a hot spot in this one area where normally you get 1 or 2 anomalies or strange things in one location. It's like it all centers around Blind Frog Ranch, above in the sky and down underground. And what you see on the TV show is just scratching the surface for what's going on up there.
Absolutely. And I know when it comes to the Uintah Basin, I mean, I'll direct this at you here real quick. And guys, hang on here a minute because we've got Charlie Boy and Chad and Duane about to join us. This is going to be a fun day. So real quick, before we bring them on, James, you did an extensive research actually on the ranch and all throughout the country. I mean, your investigations are absolutely phenomenal, but on the ranch in particular, I mean, everything that these guys are seeing on the show and they're talking about, that there's, this stuff is really going on here. This is no joke, right?
Yeah, so underneath the Uintah Basin and the Uintah Mountains, there's just an immense amount of cavern systems that we've been into. We've conducted lidar scans. Duane's property, there's guaranteed over 1.5 miles of these caverns, and at some point they more than likely, or they still could have all been connected. And when you're talking about finding ancient coins, I personally located one with Duane last year that was from, I believe, 1810. So that's nothing that's being made up. I did it as an independent researcher that had nothing to do with the television show, the series. So
Nice.
we're finding all kinds of things out there that you're seeing as well on the television series.
Beautiful. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Well, guys, thank you for joining us. You're going to have some awesome opportunity to share some things with us here. Let's not make everybody wait too much longer. Let's bring on some of the guys. So here we go. We're going to bring on Charlie Boy himself. Charlie, how you doing, buddy?
Good morning. Glad to be here. How's everybody doing this morning?
Doing fantastic. Now, guess what? We're going to bring the rest of the crew here.
Thanks.
We're going to bring Chad on. Chad, say hello. What's going on, Mr. Ollinger? What's going on?
What's up, guys? How are you guys?
Doing great. Doing great. And then, of
Well,
course, certainly not least, we're going to bring on the head of this whole operation, the man who is behind getting up there and getting things going, Duane Ollinger. How are you this morning?
Just fine. How you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic. Listen, guys, I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about how this whole group came together. So, as everybody knows, Mystery at Blind Frog Ranch season 2 premiered last night. Everybody's been waiting and waiting. So much fun stuff in this episode. We're going to go into it. We're going to talk about specific scenes, specific things that happen, and get your guys' insight on what's happening there, so that we can actually dive into it a little bit deeper and see what's happening there. Now, as far as the relationship here, I want everybody to know Carl the Crusher, James Keenan, Charlie Boy, Duane, and Chad. You guys have all worked together. You guys have all been out at the ranch quite a few times. I myself have been involved in the actual brand. Guys, I want you to know that if you've never been up to Vernal, Utah, you have got to get up there, because we actually have some phenomenal stuff going on. We've got the actual outpost. The outpost is where you can go to get all of your swag. You can come up there. We're doing tours on the ranch. We're doing a featured product right now. We've got these amazing beanies that you've probably seen Chad wearing. You've seen his kids wearing. We've got some really cool swag. Definitely go there. BlindFrogRanchOutpost.com. That's who's hosting this show. And let's get on to the fun stuff. By the way, when it's talking about swag, yeah, you see Carl with his swag right here. I'm drinking from a Blind Frog cup.
That's good stuff. I wear it all the time.
Exactly. So blindfrogranchoutpost.com, guys, you can go and check it out if you want to hit the QR code down on the screen right here. And we're even giving some cool deals right now with those beanies and some free shipping. So check that out. If you're not already on our Instagram, go ahead and hit up this QR code right here, and we can get you guys plugged in there. And then, of course, Facebook. We've got Facebook going on. Now, without delay, let's jump into this, guys. Not only has the world been waiting for season 2, but you guys have been waiting for the season to get in there and learn more and really make something of this property. Duane, I'm going to go to you first. I want to hear just a little bit about, how much anticipation there was to getting back on the ranch and getting some progress going. Let's talk about that for just a moment.
So it's all about gathering information, and with this group, we all get to gather information. There's so many other people that are stepping up to the plate also to help us better understand what's going on. And it's not just about us, it's about the area, the whole 9 yards to help this deal go forward. Man, I don't even know where to start. That's a big question, but for every one answer we get, I think we got, you might ask James on this, I think we got about 1,000 more questions.
Yeah, I mean, James, speak to that. I mean, James, I mean, you mentioned even before the guys jumped on, there's an incredible amount of things going on there. I mean, let's narrow it, because we got a lot to cover in this episode. But talk about the magnetic fields or the instruments or the I know you dive into a lot of some of the craziness that's going on. Tell us a tiny bit here.
Yeah, from the scientific technology standpoint of it, when you're up there with Duane, he has this ATV, this four-wheeler that's like a tank. It has tracks on it, and the back is completely full with technology. And no matter where you go, we're constantly pulling out using different magnetometers or 3D ground imaging, and we're finding just all kinds of new things in caves, underground, around the stream, in the rocks. And you schedule a few days, and then those few days turn into a week. And I mean, before you know it, you're spending 8, 9 days with Duane having breakfast, and you're out there 10, 12 hours each day. And like he said, I go to help him answer 1 or 2 questions, and we have 10, 11, 12 more now that came from that. And we're scheduled to go back up in June, and it's be a lot longer this time with a lot of technology. Especially, I mean, we came across at least 10 caves that they had not looked through. And unfortunately, I'm afraid of, like black bears and mountain lions and the wolves that are on that property. So I'm not going head first. And Duane's always trying to send me in there. So I got some new cool technology that's going to go in there for us with all types of cameras and do it. And those bears and tigers, bears and mountain lions, they can bite on that all they want, just as long as it's not me.
Well, and that actually lends itself to one of the first topics I want to jump on that's specific to what's going on the show. There's no way that this show can cover everything that's happening, guys. So this is our opportunity to talk a little bit about it. Chad, you're a crazy person, and I love it. You are absolutely always fearlessly ready to go into everything. You don't even talk much about the animals and the what James just mentioned, danger, because you're jumping right first into your own danger, going into caves, going into holes in the ground. I mean, what do you have to say to the people out there that go, why is this guy so fearless? Why is he so driven? What is it that's driving you so much, Chad?
So I want to apologize for the internet. I hope it's not messing everything up, but
You're good.
For me, okay, cool. For me, why I do everything is for that experience. So if there is, like, say, a bear in there, that's a new experience, and we'll just figure it out along the way. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like the universe has my back in whatever I do, and I got a few lives and quite a few left. So I think it's all good.
So where you say if there's a bear, it's a new experience. The rest of the world is saying if there's a bear, I'm like out of there. Like, are you like I don't think about that as an experience, right? I mean, Charlie boy, what do you think? I mean, you're always packing, right? You're ready for some of this action, right? Charlie, you have the same attitude, or are you a little bit more cautious?
No, I'm a little bit more cautious. I've been trained to stand back and understand what's going on around. Now, Chad is the opposite. He's right in there. Hey, I'm gonna observe the surroundings. I'm gonna look for cover, things like that. So it's totally opposite between me and him, but I love it. I mean, it's just like, wow, to watch him work is phenomenal.
Well, thank God you guys are a team, and I haven't even gotten started on Duane yet, because guess where Chad gets it from? Mr. Ollinger, right? So I'm gonna use that to jump right into the first little clip that we're gonna watch together, guys, because I actually have a really, really cool set of clips that we're gonna talk about. So let's jump in here really quick and watch this together just for a second here.
First in is the last out. That's how it works. And so I'll go in first. Chad will be last and first up. He's got kids to raise. Carbon monoxide, H2S, low oxygen.
All right. I have to make a comment here, guys. For those of us who expect, which we all do, right? We, at this point, we all expect that Chad's jumping into every hole. Chad's doing everything. Duane, you're jumping into holes too. What is with you, man? You guys are both doing it. Say again?
I don't have a lot of sense.
Well, I mean, that clip says a lot. Obviously, you guys are taking calculated risks, but risk is part of what you do. Duane, I'd like to hear a little bit about, the fact that you've been doing high risk stuff for a long time, and you guys are taking risks, but you're calculated, and obviously you're concerned for Chad's well-being. Your comment right there speaks to it. You're like, hey, he's got family. He's last one in, first one out. Talk a little bit about the risk stuff that you've been doing for years.
So yeah, we're in the oil field and refineries, mostly in the refinery business. So we have got to see a lot of things that's happened in the industry, and it really I mean, we live these lives. I mean, we've seen disasters, we've seen good and bad things, and you learn from all of it. So whenever we're doing something like this, there's a little more calculation that goes on to it if we go into a cave system, but it's at the end of the day, you still have to do it.
Yeah, I hear you. And one of the things that all of us really commend is the fact that you guys you're taking risks for the journey, but you guys are making sure that you're doing it the right way. And I don't think everybody quite understands how much goes into that. Now, Carl, let me jump to you for a second. You do investigations all the time out in the middle of nowhere by yourself. I mean, you're familiar with these risks. You're out there too. What kind of risks are you seeing in the Uinta Basin and Blind Frog that we maybe haven't seen on the show yet that these guys are having to deal with?
A lot of my approach to it is a little bit more intuitive and maybe less scientific. We usually bring the professionals like James and everybody in with the technology and the equipment and the knowledge. And I kind of go in with the meditative mindfulness approach. And I try to approach it a little bit more like the native people that dwelt there before would have. And I try to sense that. I pay attention to my intuitions, even the dreams that I'm having, or if I feel prompted to go a particular way. And I mean, immediately, first of all, when I met the family and came up there, immediately resonated with Duane and Chad, almost like they were family from another life. And Chad and I hit it off immediately, and it was like we're brothers. And the fact that the entire family atmosphere up there on the ranch had a completely different vibe, a completely different feel. And when I got to go up and tour on the ranch, that spread out through the entire property and everybody involved. It was a completely different experience than I've had going on expeditions and looking around. You get back up in some of these locations and they can feel dark and haunted, and you can experience really strange phenomenon. And when I was up there at Blind Frog Ranch, you can sense all of that going on, but the tone to it is really different. It's way more curious. It's intriguing, and it's almost like it's inviting the family to finally discover what's there. And being there and sensing that, and the way that that's shaped my life and this whole process has sent me on this journey to try and look at all of the clues. I've gone up to the petroglyphs and looked at those right there by Blind Frog Ranch. And then I've been traveling all around Arizona, southern Utah, Nevada, and everything is lining up like this is a bigger picture that spans all across these states, and it's centralized up in that Uinta Basin, and a lot of it originates there. And I think it's right where they're digging and right where a lot of this is going on holds a lot of those answers.
Exactly. And Duane, I want to direct this to you. That's something you've been saying from the get-go. There's something bigger here. You went up there looking for gold. You went up there looking for the lost Rhodes mines potentially, and what the history says may be there. But you're peeling back an onion on so much more, right, Duane?
So yeah, when we went up there with technology. So we had pinpoint spots that we were supposed to dig around. Now, I want to keep this in line. We were never mining, we were exploring. So that mining word sure gets your ass in trouble.
Sure.
So we're not doing any of that. But you got to give credit back to like a George Stevens. George Stevens was the one that gave us the target points on the side of the mountain with the technology that they even had back in the Vietnam era. time, and he brought that technology forward. We were just kind of boots on the ground on information that, it was so skeptic, thinking, gosh, how could this even be correct? But when it got right down to it, and we stayed with his protocol, that's where we found the cave systems on the side of the mountain where the blind frogs come out, and yeah, man, it's a wild gig.
It's good stuff. Well, listen, going into this next season, you guys had some choices to make. So I'm gonna play a clip here real quick. Speaking to that, you've got the setup for this. Obviously, this ran last night. Eric is bringing his info to the table. Let's see this here real quick.
Well, I went ahead and ran some of those samples that we took. I assayed them. Okay. We're looking at about 628 ounces of iridium. Price of iridium today is about $5,600 an ounce. And so we're sitting on about $3.5 million right there. Mm-hmm. It's there. It's there for you.
Okay, I'm going to pause for just a second because that bears mentioning. You're looking at $3.5 million worth of a natural compound there that you didn't even realize was there until you started poking around. And I have to point out, here's Chad's reaction.
That's really good stuff, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, it's money in the bank.
That's exactly how I see it. It's a safety net. It's always going to be there. But we got this box, and who knows what's in it. I say we go back and dive it again. I think. Okay,
so I gotta point this out, guys. Chad, this is why I love you, man. You were just told you have $3.5 million worth of stuff there, and you're like, yeah, whatever. I got to go back and find out what's going on with this other journey here. I love it. That's an amazing thing. Now, of course, Duane, you had your say in it. You're like, okay, but only if it's calculated, only if we can determine, that it's legitimate to go after, right? Chad, please share with me your thought process here. You heard that you 3.5 million, man. That's a lot of money, but you're after the journey more. Tell us how your thoughts are. Tell us your feelings.
Yeah, I mean, I've already done some mining stuff on mining safety and stuff like that, and a lot of people do it, but I mean that's not what I signed up for at all. I mean, the main thing on this journey is to find it. I mean, that'd be to put your hands on it, see what's there. That's what I'm all about. That new experience. I haven't experienced that one yet, so.
Well, and that's truly the essence of what I know about you, Chad. For all of you watching, getting to know these guys is an amazing thing, and that's what we're hoping to do here with this show is help you guys get to know these guys a little better. The journey is everything, right, guys?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right on. And all of you have signed up for this knowing that, this isn't going to be easy. Now, with that being said, I'm going to play the next clip because this got thrown way out of left field. This has nothing to do with, gold or anything like that. So take a look at what we ended up seeing next here.
Boy, the energy coming off that car. I walked up to look in, and it was a bad deal. It was a bad deal. There was a lady in it, and she had just shot herself.
And the gun was in her lap.
Gun was in her lap. And hell, I'll tell you another damn thing, Charlie. Her face was painted up white, black around her eyes, just like the Joker. I don't know what took place here, but this whole deal's up.
All right, so let's talk about this a little bit. So this came out of nowhere. Obviously, guys, I want to remind everybody that when television puts something together and when there's a live investigation on something, they have to be careful with the exact times and locations and all that of what has happened. But this is a true scenario that you want to get to the bottom of, Duane. Can you tell us what your feelings were in knowing that, you know, this is an actual situation here that you're dealing with? Tell us what went through your mind. This sounds crazy.
So in turn, just like you say, they have to reenact this stuff because you know for a fact there wasn't going to be no body in a car, so they have to. But what they try to do, and I am so impressed with Discovery and Cargo 7 that they want to know the stories that I dealt with since '09. And in turn, they want to know all these things, and they blend those things in to help go along with what we're dealing with as of this moment today. And so what's a tough deal is to have to reenact what I really saw at one of my projects. And, you just really need to watch the rest of the series to see what takes place. But again, I want to overemphasize the fact that I appreciate Cargo 7, Discovery, and all the guys on the show to help these things move forward, because it's not exactly what we as humanity thinks it is. I mean, man, you just got to pull your hat down on some of this stuff because it gets kind of wild.
It's really something that brings you back to, you know, the reality that you guys aren't just, you know, out there on some land poking around with a tractor. There's real things happening. And with that, I want to direct this towards Chad. So Chad, I mean, how do you deal with the fact that there are so many crazy things going on? I mean, you're in the Uintah Basin, which is known for crazy things. I mean, you know, you've got Skinwalker Ranch just to the side of you. You're 30 plus miles from any actual town. You're having to deal with a lot. I mean, what's, you know, you had your family out there, and you have your family out there regularly. I mean, you know, how does this affect you?
For me, I mean, there is some things that I've never seen before out there, 100%. Now, as far as if they're out there to harm us, I don't think they are. As different or scary as some of this sounds, I don't think they're here to harm us. And if they wanted to harm us, they would, whatever it is. I'm talking stuff flying around in the sky or trespassers or whatever, you know. So I have that in the back of my mind thinking, we'll be okay.
Yeah. But with that being said, you know, we just saw and we know that there actually have been some casualties. Now, obviously, this is being investigated, and you know, we don't know what the scenario is. We'll find out, I'm sure, down the road. You know, whether this was a suicide or a murder or whatever the case was. But you know, everybody just needs to realize, obviously, that you guys are doing what you can to stay safe and keep your you know, your loved ones safe, right?
Yeah. We take total precautions for that too, and we take it as it comes. You know, I don't know.
Right.
I'm not an expert at any of this. Like this, so much of this stuff is so new, and we have to lean on so many other people to even have an idea what's going on. Right, so.
I agree, and not in the same vein, and quite more lighthearted. I'm going to go ahead and pop up a question that just came up, Chad, because you were just on screen. We've got somebody asking: has Chad worn dreadlocks his whole life?
Has Chad wanted dreadlocks his whole life? Yeah, I think deep within, yeah, probably so. But after I had a plane crash, I made a vow to myself that I'm never going to cut my hair again. And I haven't since then. So I'd ride motorcycles a lot, and I'd have to brush my hair out, and that was the biggest pain in the ass ever. So I thought, man, Let's dread it up so I don't have to comb it out anymore.
Nice. Very cool. And then I'm going to do one more, and then we're going to move on here just real quick. And I know this lends itself to what you guys are doing up there. This question is about the Rhodes Mine. Is the Rhodes Mine nearby? And I think that's a pretty big question, because there's a lot of speculation about that. Duane, why don't you go ahead and take that one?
So I don't go into that as much, as I just deal with the satellite technology and things like that. But Chad and James would be more apt to speak on that, on the history of that whole deal. I really deal with more of the satellite end of the deal. So I don't know all the gossip, and they always probably like to hammer me for not knowing the history, but I just go off a target point. So let one of those guys kind of get me out of mind here.
Fair enough. And we'll only spend a moment on it because we got a lot to cover. James, what do you know about the road mines in that area? James, can you hear me?
No, you cut out.
Oh, sorry about that. So, James, what can you speak to some of the knowledge about the Rhodes Mine in that area and why people believe it may be right there on Blind Frog?
Yeah, so from the middle 1800s, with the LDS, the Mormons moving in, they had a lot of interaction. And just real quickly, a lot of people think that it's the Ute Indians, but recently the research has shown that it's actually the Shoshone. So that's a new path that I'm going down with that I'm going to talk to Duane later. But absolutely, I'm in firm belief that what's known as the Rhodes Mine or the Mormon Mine is on or nearby, and because it's good potential that really existing. I'm not going to tell everybody where I believe the research is leading to.
Of course.
And recently, I think we've come up with the fact that there may actually be two locations. One's a mine or a cache site, and that's CACHE, cache site, meaning that has already been gold that's been melted and turned into bullion somewhere. And then also the potential for a very sacred or ancient site. And so just real quickly, I am a firm believer that it is very close to Duane's property, just based upon all the oral traditions and what a lot of LDS members, Mormon church members, have in their journals from their past family members.
Right. Nice. And that's why it's so exciting to see what's going on here, even in this episode, with what you, Chad, with what you got into with the archaeologist. Let's watch another clip here real quick and catch up on what we just learned from last night here. So here we go.
We're using ropes and reeds to bind it.
Yeah.
Something like that.
We can see there's similar building techniques.
Exactly.
And this is just a bigger scale of that right there.
Yeah.
So obviously, guys, we're trying to determine, what the risk factor is and what the reason is to go back down to see what that box is. And, Duane, you made a clear decision early on there in the show. We need to assess whether it's 50 years old or 500 years old. Does it have to do with Aztec? What's the scenario? And then Chad, you at that point confirmed that it could very well be from the Aztec era. What are your thoughts there?
I mean, we've talked to people about this, and we ended up getting a core sample of it. So that should show later on in the season what we're looking at. But
right.
Yeah, there's experts around the world that say that this type of structure, once again, I'm not an expert, but so we have to lean on so many people.
Yeah. And the key here is data, right? You guys are going to risk to go down there and find out what's really going on, right?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Now, with that being said, I want to go to another clip here really quick where let me cue it up here. This one is one that I immediately thought about when you guys were looking at this.
Careful. Aztec lore says that all of these caverns have been booby trapped.
All right. So we all know there's crazy stuff going on. You guys have had something hit you at every turn on that ranch. Now you're talking about where it's part of history that they actually booby trap things. Those walls could come down on you as soon as you try to move something. I mean, you know, what's going through your head when you're diving down there knowing this?
I mean, you try to focus on what you want to happen, or I do, anyways. I mean, worst case scenarios, yeah, you die, right? But it's like, there
might be a bear in there. You might die in a booby trap. Whatever, right?
No, I mean, my thoughts is, I don't know if they would have the booby traps work underwater. I don't know if it's always been flooded. I don't know. I think that they got in a different way, obviously, than the way we got in with the Traco. And later on, you'll see. But I think if coming in maybe the backside, it's not as much as of a risk, you know, other than scuba diving. I mean, that's a huge risk in a confined space. So.
Right. And again, you guys are calculated. You're only going to get a core sample. You're not just going to try and go down there and jerk, you know, that thing apart, right? So, yeah. so let's jump to another clip here. I've got ready for us. Check this out, guys. This is, well,
if I can open up the entrance a little bit bigger, then he can use a scuba taper and not get all tangled up with all those hoses. My eyes are on the prize, and that's finding the box.
So that's something that we've gotten a lot of questions about from season 1. Why don't you open the hole bigger, right? And that's exactly what you guys do here. So I will say that, you know, everybody's really, really happy to see that. We absolutely want to, you know, get down there and get in, you know, get into it deeper. Now, I want to show this clip just because it's great.
But it can do 4 times the work.
So you've got this giant tractor.
I just want to make sure that son of a bitch works.
All right. I'm stopping here because Duane, you know, I love you, man. You're always ready to jump in there with some big equipment and get something going. And anybody who knows Duane and has followed the show knows that normally he's calling somebody a son of a buck, which, by the way, is on shot glasses and t-shirts that you can buy from the store at blindfrogranchoutpost.com. But all in good fun. We've talked a lot about risk. We've talked a lot about you know, the dangers and the unexpected, but let's talk about the fun for a second. You actually have fun out there together. Duane, you enjoy this, right?
So yeah, it's intriguing, and just like anybody sitting on this panel, it's not the end. It's the journey that's fun. It's the information that you gather and the communication between people, and some of it might get a little bumpish, but dadgummit, at the end of the day, it's still a part of the story. And if all this wouldn't happen, you know, well, man, I wouldn't be getting to work with my son and Charlie Boy and you guys, and hell, this is good, and you know, it's an honor to get to meet all the folks that are coming to help, and we need help. Hell, we don't have the answers, we just have the questions, you know?
Right. Well, and speaking of questions, guys, I want to throw up, and it's, you know, good timing because we just got the question coming into one of our chats here. Is it possible to pump out the water? We've had that question a bunch of times. I'm sure it's one of the most asked questions out there. And, you know, we recently got together in LA and did some video shooting. Chad answered this question. So instead of making Chad answer it again here real quick, I'm going to go to that clip and let Chad tell us here, and then we'll talk about it. So here we go.
Done there and what you've been through. So one of the most common questions is, why have you not drained that pump?
Let me make sure that that plays right here, guys. Hang on just a second. I guess it's not playing right, so we're just going to go right to it here with you guys. So, Chad, tell us again, why have we not just drained that pond? This is the biggest question that we get on a regular basis. So let's jump to it.
Wow, which makes total sense. 100%. Yeah, drain the water. You just walk in. Oh, yeah, it sounds awesome. But in draining the water, if we were to pump it out into another stream, it would mix with the water from the stream, and that's illegal in Utah. And my dad's been through some stuff where they tried to accuse him of that, which we haven't because there's still water in the pond. Another reason is it has a spring. Even if we pumped it out, we think that there's a spring somewhere in there that keeps pumping up water. So we'd have to pump it out, truck it out, or have another a holding tank and keep pumping it in there. And who knows how big of a pond we'd have to dig, right? And the third and maybe most important thing is that we don't know if we pump all the water out, if the structural stability of the cave could collapse. That's stuff we don't know. So we're being super precautious. We're trying not to disturb stuff unless we have to. That's the thing.
And that's several amazing points, and there's even more than that. I mean, you mentioned obviously Utah is very strict on what you guys can do. We've had this conversation, so and I want to share with that more. Duane, you've had to deal quite a bit, and you have to cooperate with. For those of you that aren't familiar with Utah, there's an organization called BLM. It is the Bureau of Land Management, and they make sure that even on your own property, you're following all the Utah laws and restrictions. And you mentioned earlier, Duane, I'm going to cut to you here for a minute, about being careful that you're not mining, right? You have strict rules. Can you talk about that?
Most certainly. If we ever try to pump the water, I want Charlie Boy to do it, and that way he goes to jail instead of me, because they're very strict. I mean, they watch you like a hawk. So I'm just kidding about that, Charlie. You look like anyway.
Want me to pull the rope on the pump?
Do what?
You just want me to pull the rope on the pump to start it.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And then I got my way out.
He's not throwing you under a bus, Charlie Boy. He's throwing you in the ditch. Come on now.
Yeah, run over me with those tracks.
Well, I'm just saying that there's a lot of rules out there, and some of them in Texas, in different places, the rules are different, and you just can't do that pumping of one stream into another and cross contaminate the whole 9 yards. Now we have Eric out there, and if anybody could help us get that accomplished, he could do it, but it's just a flow. I mean, it's a river underneath that mountain. So, like Chad said, if we even pumped it down, how fast would it fill back up and things like that? So, we have to go the hard way. We truly believe that the caves are flooded uphill underneath the ground, and I think that's where James comes in on some of the stuff that he's been talking about, that they've gone in to dry. But then again, we have water down where we're at. And the water table where we're at, is 7106 is the water table. So we got to go in higher than that, because water doesn't lie. So and that's where James has been doing some research, even off the ranch at a higher up elevation, I think. Haven't you, James?
James, he's alluding
to
there's
we've been at.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's sinkholes directly above the property, miles north, where just a ton of snow water, when it melts, goes underground systems. And to what Chad was saying, there are 13 known water springs within a mile of the entire 160 acres of Duane's property. So we know that the underground area is just inundated with water, and this water happens to be flowing. So there's more than likely a spring or even a stream or an underground river that has flooded the caverns under the property. And, there's even a couple ice caves within a few miles of the property. So it's just amazing. It's just a matter of getting the right samples and testing it to see if the water is the same or has the same headwater that it's coming from. And it absolutely takes a lot of time, because we're not talking about flat ground. If anybody's been out there, this is like some of the most rugged territory I have ever had to conduct any type of research on. And sometimes it takes an hour and a half to walk a mile.
Yeah, that's and for everybody watching at home, it's really important to know that's why this has been so perplexing to these gentlemen here. They can't just, barrel through. They can't pump out the water. They have to respect the integrity of the land. They have to respect the rules of Utah and the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management. And they have to, really approach this in a creative, non-harming way. I mean, if the water just keeps replenishing from another table, that's pulling water from someone else's land. And that's a balance that they can't afford to mess with. So we all would love to just pump that out and walk right in. Everybody, right?
And something else that people should consider as well is that this location has layers and layers of potential historical significance. If you just go north up to Idaho, you've got 17,000-year-old pre-Clovis period dwelling sites where they're flint knapping and making atlatl spears and hunting, and all of that migration of those native people that first came into the Americas could have settled up there in the Uintas and up in that basin and up at Blind Frog Ranch in those regions and in those caves. There could be thousands of years of historical significance down underground in those caves. And what we're seeing is just a lot of the most prominent generation of that, when things may have been stored or cached down there, or you name it. But there's already been beads and different historical things that are native to the people that dwelt there, and pumping all that water out in a high flow manner with a giant pump is going to ruin the historical significance and the ability to discover all those thousands of years that could piece together a lot of what's going on and what's happened there. If you just pump all that out with a big pipe, you could collapse and destroy a ton of historical significance to the region.
Agreed. Now, I'm going to jump to another clip here, guys, because we're getting short on time and there's so much to go over. We've actually got a new gentleman coming to the scene here. So let's look at this clip here really quick for just a second.
More homicides than I can count. I've seen a lot of bad things. So I just retired. I'm sitting on my porch looking at the trees and birds. Charlie calls me up. Says he has something for me to look into. I told him no. I hung up.
So, guys, obviously we talked about the girl earlier on in here. There's an investigation that's going to be going on. And Charlie, you brought your friend into the picture here to help you out with this. So tell us just for a quick minute about him and how you know him.
Well, Jamie is he's been an investigator for a lot of years. He's done so much in that field. Worked on reservations, and so he was. I figured he would be comfortable being out there. I did fail to give him some details on this project, because I felt if I gave him too much, he would say no, which at first he did say no. And then about 20-30 minutes later, I get a call and he said, no, wait a minute. He said, let's talk about this for a minute. So, I finally convinced him to come out, and he has been a major asset to us, because he's tenacious. He when he gets onto something, he'll stay on it until he gets an answer.
Oh yeah. Well, and you even addressed that here. Let's watch another quick clip here.
You know, Jamie thinks that there's probably an easy explanation, but been my experience up here in investigating things that it might take you a little bit longer than what you think.
Yeah. So basically, you're admitting here that you set him up. You brought him up with less information, knowing he's going to have to do a lot, right there, Charlie boy.
Yeah, he just kind of looked at me and he said, "What in the hell did you get me into?" So yeah, it was it's one of those things where I had to leave out some details to get him there, and then I could, I could clue him in on everything once he got there.
Right on, right on. Well, guys, we're going to jump into another scene here because this is kind of the crux of what's happening here on the show that really propels us forward. We've got, just some amazing things. There's so much stuff in this episode to talk about. Let's jump into this here real quick.
Oh, hell.
Holy smoke.
I can't believe it did this good of a job. Look at that. Look how big that is. And this is just the tunnel that leads to the box.
Wow. You didn't tell us you swam that far.
It didn't seem like it was that far.
I got 2 miles of caverns underneath the property, and I've only mapped just a part of it. But I still can't believe how far Chad swam down in there. If the little would have told me, I probably wouldn't have let him back in.
All right, so let's talk about this. You guys got some amazing information off of that lidar scan. I mean, look at some of this. These are some screenshots from it. You're actually getting to see that box down in there. You're getting to see these caverns. I mean, kudos to Eric Drummond for bringing that in, because what a wealth of information for you guys now in getting a little bit further in what you're doing. So I have some questions that are flooding in here that I gotta throw at you, because you now know the actual GPS location. Why aren't you drilling straight on the top of that, right? Chad, let's go to you for this.
Well, I mean, that's a great idea, and I think you're just gonna have to watch and see.
Well, and I think you kind of answered a little bit of that earlier on. There's a lot of elements to consider here. I mean, everything could cave in. You could, there's integrity of the land to worry about, right? But how much does this help? I mean, you're now seeing exactly where you can go, right?
Yeah, I mean, Eric, he's always has like some really cool ideas and experiments and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, to know a map, I mean, that's priceless, no doubt.
Duane, have you ever used this lidar equipment before?
No, I haven't. But it's awful strange that the other satellite stuff that we use kind of makes a mirror of what we're being told in different areas. So it's crazy that all these different technologies really aren't tied to each other, but now they're saying the same thing or close. Everything's a plus or minus, and we all know that, but it's giving out the same information that we were told by satellites by just taking a sample of the water, where they study the ionic burst of the minerals in the water. So it's all this is good. All this is good,
Well, and James, Mr. Keenan, I know you have experience with this. Can you speak to how that system works and how accurate they can expect it to be?
Yeah, so light detection and ranging, what it does is the lasers are bouncing off of anything around it, and it's sending back the range. So you're getting thousands of these data points all at once that are being collected by a software. It takes up a tremendous amount of hard drive to do this. And what it does is then you can create a three-dimensional software imaging of what it did. And what's great is, because it's 3D, you're getting ground to ceiling to all walls around. You're having, your depth as well as height, and it allows you to measure And depending on where it is occurring, sometimes you can have the GPS receiver monitor and measure exactly the location for that. But, that's limited based upon location. Sometimes the rock and all that can interfere with that.
I have a question that I want to pop up here. Maybe any of you guys know this. Are the light blue areas air pockets? Do we know what that actually means in that graphic that we're showing there?
I don't know.
So let me throw the graphic back up there. There's some light blue areas. Do we know that maybe those might be air pockets? Those could be other ways in, right? At least that's a thought.
I think the way to interpret that, just based on the graphics, so that people understand what's going on, is that you guys have mapped basically the cave structure and know the general shape of it, but the section of the cave that you guys have lidar scanned would be the area that's in green. So the other areas maybe didn't get scanned per se in the lidar, but they're known caverns and passages that you guys have mapped out. It's just not digitized.
Got it. That's helpful. Okay. Well, so let's move on to the next bit of data that we're actually pulling here, which is really interesting and key to everything. So let's watch this clip real quick.
In order to carbon date the age of that box, Chad had to get at least 4 inches into that wood. So I set him down with what looks like a giant wine opener, basically. You may have seen this method used for the age determination of living trees, but for us, this will allow Chad to get into the undisturbed portion of the log. And that sample will tell us just how old this log really is.
All right, so obviously you guys are looking to discern how old it is. You need it to be what, around the 500-year mark to be Aztec. Is that right, Chad?
Yeah, that's what we're hearing. Yeah.
Okay, and so we've got questions about that as well. So obviously you're sending that off. You're going to find out some information. Super exciting to find that out. Just from the visual appearance of things, we're getting questions online about, well, if it's really that old, how could the ropes still be intact, or those? My personal thoughts, I'm thinking, well, maybe it hasn't been flooded the whole time. Maybe that happened when you guys broke through and the water came out. Maybe it flooded. Maybe the booby trap that was mentioned already happened, right? I don't know. What are your thoughts? Duane, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, not too many. I mean, we just know what we're dealing with down there, and I know this from what we found out through George Stevens back in 2009, as far as what the elements were coming out of the side of the mountain. He never talked about water, but we ran into a bunch of it, and we don't know. We're running steady. We're running. Let me see. We're running tests right now to see what the elements are in the water, to see if there's some kind of preservative there. We don't know. We really don't know. The biggest thing is that we're hoping that there's something in that water that when we get in there, that if there's artifacts like we've been told, that they will be preserved. And just like Carl's talking about, we're not here to tear the world down. We will take it out on a stretcher to be kind to it. We're not here to harm anything. The box, that might not be that big of a deal as much as what I'm not supposed to be telling any spoilers, but they said we could hint. They said we could hint that
nobody wants. Nobody wants you to get in trouble, Duane. We know that we can't divulge too much about the shows coming up. Guys, you're just going to have to wait for some information for next week. We got eight weeks going on here. We got 7 more weeks of shows to watch. But it's just really interesting to see and hear what's happening on this episode. And thank you for giving us some insight on that. Chad, I'll turn to you here for just a second. You've been down there. You've seen it. I mean, it looks pretty well preserved, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. We don't know when this has been flooded or if it was flooded to preserve. Yeah, that's. I have no idea. I mean, I'll be
And
the
you,
first to say I don't know.
so you guys are relying on experts for that. I mean, obviously, right?
Right.
Very good. Very
Yeah,
good.
we're leaning on a
Well,
lot of people, no doubt about it.
so for all of those of you that are questioning, hey, how could it be intact? We don't know. We'll find out, right? I mean, that's why we're testing everything. I mean, it's highly possible that it could be preserved. You, Duane, you brought up a great point. You already know there's minerals in that water that in massive concentrations that you don't find everywhere else. There's all sorts of things. I know, James, you've studied some of the magnetic fields. There's all kinds of things that are unusual going on in that property. So it's all a question of a combination of those things. I want to jump where we're getting close to time here. We're actually going over a little bit, but I know everybody wants to hear as much as possible. But I've got another clip I want to play here that is just leaving us with so much that we want to see here. So bear with me just a second as I pull that clip up. Here we go.
We got 2 miles of caverns under this property. Someone was using it to hide their gold. Holy. But now we got things coming at us from all angles. It's time for us to find out him. What the hell is this?
It's acting weird. Go, 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 go.
Still got it.
You know we are sitting on gold.
It's laying there, just waiting on Chad to get to it.
That's not the end of the story, of course. There is something underground producing energy. I'd like to explain that from a scientific standpoint.
Next step is where it's going to get a little dicey.
One of the reasons I fell in love with Chad is his adventure, his danger. But now that we're married and 4 kids later, it's a lot to take.
We have some wild stuff coming on. And we got people showing up and they're going to give us fits.
Hey, Duane, there's somebody on your property. 2 guys up there.
There, right there.
Oh, I got it.
I guarantee you we'll catch him right there. Call me a liar. You lied. I have a liar-looking mother. Come on, pull your gun. Pull it.
Sure not the way I thought this was going to go.
Wow, wow, wow. That's all I got to say there. My goodness, there is so much going on up there. Duane, you've got people giving you grief. You've got the land giving you grief. You've got all these obstacles, and you just keep plugging along. I mean, I don't even know what to say. What is going on with people coming on your property?
I guess I'd have to say that, if nobody was paying attention to it, then we probably wasn't doing something right. So I think all the little scenarios going on, and I mean, there's a lot that won't even be talked about that I'm dealing with in the, I hate to say it, in the court systems, but we like every bit of it. We like the fight, and Chad doesn't remember this, but I used to have a dictionary on my dash in my pickup, and I took out the word quit, and I'd make him look it up whenever he was young.
That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Well, and that's an attestament to how Chad is now and your guys' whole philosophy on things. I'm going to spend a couple more minutes here just because, Charlie boy, you're in charge of security. You're dealing with this garbage. People, just coming on. I mean, this is a dangerous situation for real, isn't it?
Yeah, everything out there is dangerous. Just don't discount anything, but you have to in security, you have to, my job is to make sure at 160 acres when you start walking 160 acres in the mountains, it's not as easy as you think it is. And to get from one area to another, is very difficult. But, in that particular scene there with that intruder, I was there at that scene. I had just positioned myself behind the intruder where I could keep an eye on his hands. And so, the argument was fine with me, with him and Duane, but I just did not feel comfortable, being in front of him. I'd much rather have been behind him where I can watch everything that was going on.
Yeah, because you're dealing with an unpredictable scenario. And guys, just to put this to bed, because everybody argues, people know that a lot of reality TV isn't reality. These guys truly showed up. It was unexpected. It was unplanned. This is for real stuff. Chad, tell me about it.
Yeah. I mean, you'll see later episodes, but there's some things you can't catch on camera, right? But there is some that you do it. You catch them red-handed, and you'll see. Yeah.
And Chad, while we got you up there, I gotta say this: having met your wife and your kids, you're a family man, and you've got your family out there, so you have an extra level of complexity here with this, with these security risks. And we heard for just 1 second, I have to point it out, your wife is a saint dealing with all this, man.
Yeah. No, I agree. And yeah, the show can make me look fearless, whatever. But like you've said, everything is a calculated risk, even with anything, right? Yeah. But no, we have precautions, and we don't stay out there quite as much as we did too. And there's a lot of publicity coming around, and people are curious and showing up. Yeah. So we've backed ourselves up from that, especially to keep the kids and everyone healthy and safe, because you don't know someone's intent. You don't know. There's some crazies out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, we're going to have to wrap this up a little bit, but I got another comment that showed up that I'm going to bring up because it actually lends itself quite a bit. Ron here says, please keep this after show going. I can't get enough of you guys, which, I'm going to address here really quick. Our fans are amazing. Your fans are amazing. We've got a tremendous support up in Vernal, Utah. Shout out to everyone up in Vernal. Just some really, really amazing people. They come out to the Blind Frog Ranch outpost quite often. Anybody, if you guys want to come up and actually tour the ranch, the actual ranch that you're seeing in this, Carl's been on the tour. We've had a ton of people this last season. We just started it. It's amazing. The season is opening up soon. We're going to do tours out on the ranch. Go check out blindfrogranchoutpost.com. Come up and visit us. Follow us on all of our social sites. We've got Instagram going on for all of those who love that. Obviously, we're on Facebook, and we're going to be doing this, guys. Again, let me show this here really quick. We're going to do this every Saturday while we've got live shows going on. So every week on Friday night, you can watch the show, then join us the next morning, 10 a.m. PST, after the Friday episode airs on Discovery Network of the Mystery at Blind Frog Ranch, and then join us on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, or LinkedIn Live. And we're going to keep bringing this to you guys. We'll have different guests each time talking. But again, I just really want to encourage everyone. Tell your friends, get some people back here. We're going to try and answer questions. We answered some amazing questions, right? I mean, Chad just got to explain why we can't just drain the pond. We now know that, there are a lot of extra things to consider in how you guys go about this. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing for us to learn this. And I thank each and every one of you. Duane Ollinger, pleasure always. You're such a high integrity guy who's always going to tell a son of a buck exactly the way it is. And I appreciate that. Thank you for coming on.
I got one more thing to say. Don't be shooting a bunch of messengers here. All we are is messengers.
So, guys, if you come up to the store at the Blind Frog Ranch Outpost, you'll see we have a giant quote across the top of the ceiling there that says, "Don't shoot the messenger." Duane is bringing us a message that might be hard to understand sometimes, but don't shoot the messenger. And then, Chad, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
And Charlie
Thanks,
Boy,
Carl. Appreciate it,
such
guys.
a pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure. I enjoy it.
Awesome. Everybody, join us back. Carl, thank you so much. James, thank you so much. We're going to come back and bring you some insight every Saturday morning. Talk to your friends. Tell them, help us post this stuff online. We're going to have all kinds of good stuff. Again, we've got a featured product each week. We're going to give you discounts on some of our swag. Don't forget to go get some Blind Frog Ranch merchandise, and we're going to be giving away some fun stuff as well. So again, guys, join us next week. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. We appreciate every one of you. You're amazing. We'll see you next week.